Hi guys, it is April from Getting Hooga With It. Different location for me. I was plopped down to do my October at the moment video, and I thought maybe I'll just continue another video right here. So I hope you don't mind. Curl up. We're going to be doing the spooky book tag. I saw this on Bookable's channel. I've forgotten her name, which is terrible, but I really love her channel. And she did this tag, and I thought this was a really fun one. It was originally created by the Book Pusher. So let's get into it. I have my bubbly sparkling water in strawberry. I'm not sure about the strawberry flavor. It's okay. I might like grapefruit more, but this will be accompanying me today as we do this video. So there are 12 questions here, and they're all spooky in one way or another. Perfect for Halloween. And basically for me, anytime, because I just like scary things at all moments. So number one is Corn Maze. What book had you confused and lost from the very beginning? And for me, that is a book that I read earlier in the year by Ian Reid called Foe. Foe is so confusing. Now, it could be said that all of Ian Reid's books are confusing. I'm thinking of Ending Things. Also has this kind of vibe, but I did guess what was going on, and I'm thinking of Ending Things really early on. It didn't change anything for me. I still loved that book. But in Foe, I didn't know what was happening until the very end. And that's the beauty of Ian Reid. Very short books, around 200 pages. You're confused the whole time, and then you get to the end, you're like, oh, and then you want to like stop and go back and read the whole thing again to see all of the clues. Foe is a book that kind of takes place in the future, where man is starting to be sent to Mars. Now, I think the idea is that man is going to live on Mars at some point, but in the meantime, they're sending people here and there. So we follow a couple who live on a farm in the middle of nowhere. This is very isolated kind of spot. And one day a man knocks on the door, and he's from this company, and he says, so Junior, who's the man in this couple, he says, Junior, you know, we have been really interested in you, and we've been looking at you as a potential candidate to be sent to Mars. So I'm going to be coming back here and there every few months to ask you questions, to sit with you, do interviews and that kind of thing, see if you will be a candidate. And I'll let you know as we go if you will be. And they just go along with it. And it's very weird. The marriage is very strange as well. He's married to a woman named Henrietta. And they have been madly in love in the past, but there is something off that's in this book. And you really don't find out until the end what is going on generally. But I love this book. It's so good. If you haven't read Foe yet, and you don't mind a lot of gray and like a lot of open-endedness and just kind of walking through a book a little bit blindly, you gotta go and read this book. Number two, Haunted House. What book has the creepiest setting? This is The Girl Before by J.P. Delaney. Now, I have to say, I didn't actually like the book itself. I think I gave it 2 stars. But the setting is really creepy. The whole concept of this book is this girl decides to move into a home in which everything is regulated. It is beautiful. It is a gorgeous home. She doesn't have a lot of money. And basically she gets it for a steal because this house kind of watches you in a way and watches how you use it. You can't bring in anything of your own, essentially. You can't have books. You can't bring candles of your own. Like, the house comes stocked and you just show up and move in. And It's a very modern setting. Like, it sounded really beautiful, but beautiful and also incredibly creepy because it can't be touched, and you know that it's kind of adapting to you. Oh, it really, really does freak me out. I just wish that I had liked the story more. I really didn't like the story. But to me, that's still the creepiest setting that I've read, because the idea of home should be comforting, right? And this is not at all. Okay, number 3, ghost boyfriend. Who is your eternal book boyfriend? I really don't do this. Like, I don't have crushes on characters at all, so no one. Number 4, caramel apple suckers. Best dang Halloween book ever. Now, you could choose so many things, and there's so many books that came to mind when I read this question, but I do think Final Girls is a really great Halloween read. Final Girls is such an ode to the slasher flick. It's about a girl who's one of the final girls, where essentially there's been a mass killing and she's the only one who has survived, and it's following her later in her life after she'd survived. There are several other final girls that she's in touch with, not best friends with, but she's in touch with, and now someone is killing off the final girls. Or are they? What is happening? And I love the ode to the slasher flick in this, and for that reason I would have to say Final Girls. Number 5, vampires and everything. What is your least favorite Halloween trope? And I think it might be vampires. I tried to read Dracul, and I just wasn't liking it. I actually also bought Dracula, but I'm hoping that will be better. I hated Twilight, like with a passion. It might be my least favorite book of all time. Yeah, I guess I just don't love the romanticism surrounding vampires. I want them to be scarier than they are. I don't know. It's just like the most compassionate kind of killer, kind of. Like, they lure you into your life and then they're really nice to you and then they just kill you. I don't know. Vampires. Number 5. Oh, number 6. Pumpkin in everything, your favorite Halloween trope. And for me, that is definitely apocalyptic horror. I love books and movies about like a monster or something taking over the world, and we're all trying to adapt and survive. I love that concept. I could honestly do a whole video just on apocalyptic horror, so let me know in the comments below if you'd want me to do that, because I've got quite a few that I think could go into a video like that. Number 7, evil incarnate, the most evil villain. This one was a really hard one for me for some reason, but one character that kind of has been standing out lately for me is Oujji in The Good Son. This follows a man who wakes up in his bed. He goes out into the hallway. He lives with his mom. Goes out into the hallway. He smells blood. And he goes into the living room and there's his mom dead. And he's like, oh my God, someone came in the middle of the night and killed my mom. Holy crap. And then he's looking at these footprints that were like soaked in blood, like blood soaked footprints are all over the place. And he looks and they lead back to his room. And that character is really layered, and I enjoyed being in his mind a little bit, and I was also horrified by what was going on in his mind as well. I really, really liked that one. Okay, next up is Ouija Board, a book that messes with things that you don't want to be involved in. And for me, that is definitely The Cabin at the End of the World. We are following this sweet little girl and her 2 dads. They have rented a cabin. They're just trying to have a lovely little vacation. And then these basically these four strangers wielding very, very strange objects come up the lane, and they like are, this family is like blockading themselves inside, and they're like, no, we're not going to hurt you. We just need your help to save the world. And what it takes to save the world, let me tell you, I don't want to be involved in that. This was a really, really disturbing read that I read this year, and I just loved it. I've talked about this book on my channel so many times. You're probably sick of it by now, but I really loved it. Okay, so full moon. What character do you turn into on the full moon? Now, I didn't know whether they were referring to when you have your period or not. Probably weren't. They probably weren't doing that now that I said that out loud. But for me, I want to say Amanda in Come Closer. Amanda in Come Closer is possessed. Yeah, my PMS is pretty severe. It's pretty intense. And I don't fully know why I feel so enraged when I am PMSing, but I really do. And yeah, so there's a little bit of Amanda in me. Also, amazing book, super short, like 200 pages of like intense storyline. So good. Okay, next up is All Hallows Eve. The other world and this world have meshed for one night. What book world would you love to be swept up in? And I think, like, I'm still reading this at the moment as I'm filming this, but that is Dead Girls by Abigail Tartland. It's about a group of girls, I think they're like 11, and they love to play with Ouija boards just to see what's on the other side, and they have great imaginations until one day one of the girls goes missing, and I think you find out that she has died. And our main character, Tara, decides that she wants revenge. She's so upset that her best friend Billy has been killed that she wants to exact revenge on the murderer. And I used to love playing with my Ouija board with my best friend Sonia when I was a kid, and I could totally see myself doing this. And yeah, I just love the world. It honestly, it's funny book because it reminds me a lot of The Trouble with Goats and Sheep in the way that it's written, but it's a scary version of that. Like truly, I'm only like, I don't know, 70 something pages in, and there've already been a couple of scenes where I'm like, oh no. So scary for sure. Voodoo Doll. What author would you love to take control of and make them write anything you want? And for me, I would really like for Josh Malerman to write a sequel to Bird Box. I'm not going to say anything about the ending of Bird Box, but let me just say, at the end, my first thought was, oh good, now there could potentially be a sequel to this. And he has said that he is open-minded to that. I wouldn't want to get too involved in what that would look like, but I would just love to be back with Mallory again. Bird Box, if you don't know, is my favorite horror book of all time, and it follows a pregnant girl named Mallory. You're flashing backwards and forwards in time. You meet her when this thing is taking over the world, where if people look at this thing outside, they go crazy. They kill other people. They definitely kill themselves. And she discovers this when she's pregnant. It also flashes forward where she is in this house, kind of locked up with her two kids, and she needs to get out. And so they are all blindfolded. They get into a boat and they're like rowing down the lake, blindfolded, trying to find like a safe haven. So I would love to see how that story would continue. Yeah, I would love that. Black Cat. What red flags do you look for when starting a book? I would say characters that don't seem real. I struggle when characters when characters aren't thoughtful about other people or when they're not in their heads at all, when it's just very straightforward and cut and dry, that kind of makes them feel unreal and not layered like all humans are. And yeah, I'd say I watch for the characters a lot. Okay, last question. Which is Brew? A book that had a lot of different components thrown in, but the result was magical. And I think I would have to say Night Film for this by Marissa Pessel. This is very layered in terms of the storyline, I would say. So in this book, we're following a journalist who has been hard done by a horror film director. This horror film director is someone who produces movies that are so twisted that they can't be seen on regular theaters. It's like underground following for this director. Now, our journalist in the past has tried to go after this director, and it has resulted in the journalist basically losing his career. No one wants to hire him to write any stories. He's kind of just done. And so when the horror movie director's daughter, Ashley, dies, the journalist thinks, oh my gosh, for sure, her dad had something to do with this. I'm diving in. I'm going to find out what actually happened. And it's so layered. When I first started this book, I thought it was going to be just like a whodunit kind of thing. But you learn things about Ashley that are really terrifying. Like, Ashley throughout the book truly terrified me. And I thought the ending was wonderful. I just thought it was so layered, and really had this world building surrounding characters that I thought was really unique. And I just personally really loved it. So that's another really good Halloween read. So that is the spooky book tag. I should tag a few people, even though I haven't been tagged for this. I am going to tag Stephanie from That's What She Read. I am going to tag Leanne from Literary Diversions. And I'm going to tag Jade from Boho Bookworm. All right, I hope that you guys are doing well and have a lovely day, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.